What is up, guys? So the playoffs are now over. The wild ride of the 2022 postseason is done, and I have a recap of the entire postseason coming your way. But before I get into that, if you like this kind of stuff, baseball or Yankee stuff, please hit the like, subscribe, and bell icon buttons because it's gratefully appreciated and very helpful for the channel. So getting on with the recap of the entire postseason, including the World Series. So in the postseason started off with a new format, three wild card teams, one of them playing the 3 seed and then the other two playing each other. And that went for both divisions, followed by the LDS, then the LCS, and then the World Series. So in the wild card round for the American League, we had the Guardians, and the Rays playing each other, and the Astros and Mariners, or the Blue Jays and Mariners, I should say. I'm sorry. So that was the Guardians and Rays and Blue Jays and Mariners. And in the National League, we had the Mets and the Padres and the Phillies and the Cardinals. So each series were really good series. They really kicked off the playoffs right. So in the National League, or in the American League, we'll start off with that. In the American League, the Rays faced the Guardians in Cleveland, and the Guardians won in 2 games. They won 2-1 in Game 1 with Shane Bieber as the winner, Shane McClanahan as the loser, and Emmanuel Clase getting the save. And then in Game 2, the Guardians won in 15 on a walk-off homer, with Sam Hentges getting the win for the Guardians and Corey Kluber getting the loss for the Rays. And then the Guardians win that series 2-0. In the other American League wildcard series, we had the Mariners and Blue Jays. A wild Game 2 in that series, by the way. So we'll get into that in a second. But in Game 1, Mariners won 4-0 with Luis Castillo getting the win and Alek Manoah getting the loss. And then in Game 2 was the wild and crazy game. Blue Jays had an 8-1 lead. Could have sent it to a Game 3, but didn't because that bullpen completely collapsed and imploded. And the Mariners won 10-9 with the winning pitcher being Andres Munoz for Seattle, and Jordan Romano as the loser for Toronto, and George Kirby getting the save. And that sent the Mariners to the LDS, as did the series win for the Guardians, also sending them to the LDS. In the NL wild card, with the Padres and the Mets, that went 3 games. That was a great series. Game 1, Padres won 7-1 with Yu Darvish beating Max Scherzer. And then in Game 2, the Mets won 7-3 with Jacob deGrom getting the win and Blake Snell getting the loss. And then in Game 3, the Padres won that 6-0 with Joe Musgrove getting the win and Chris Bassett getting the loss, causing the Padres to get the second win and the clinching win. So they won that series 2-1. And then in the other National League wildcard series, the Phillies and the Cardinals played, with the Phillies taking Game 1 on a comeback win, 6-3, and David Robertson getting the win, and Ryan Helsley getting the loss. While in Game 2, the Phillies shut out the Cardinals 2-0 with Aaron Nola getting the win, and Miles Mikolas getting the loss, with Zach Eflin getting the save. So they won that and clinched the NL wild card, winning that series 2-0 and sending their team to the NLDS. So in games 1 and 2, Zach Wheeler was the starter for the Phillies, and so was Aaron Nola in Game 2, while Jose Quintana and Miles Mikolas were the games 1 and 2 starters for the St. Louis Cardinals. So in the American League Division Series, it was the Yankees and the Guardians versus the Yankees versus the Guardians, and the Astros versus the Mariners. And in the NLDS, it was the I believe it was the San Diego. No, it wasn't the Padres. It was the Braves and the Phillies, and the Padres and the Dodgers. So those were also two very good series. Excuse me, I just had to look over my notes there for a second. But anyways, getting on to that. In Game 1, Yankees took that game 4-1 with Garrett Cole getting the win and Cal Quantrill getting the loss. And in Game 2, the Indians won in 10 innings, 4-2, with Emmanuel Clase getting the win and Jameson Taillon getting tagged with the loss. And the starters in that game were Shane Bieber and Nestor Cortes. In Game 3, the Yankees lost 6-5, with Eli Morgan getting the win, Clark Schmidt getting the loss, and the starters for that game were Luis Severino for the Yankees, Tristan McKenzie for the Guardians. In Game 4, the Yankees came back in a must-win game to win 4-2, with Garrett Cole pitching on short rest and getting the win, and pitching really well, and Cal Quantrill getting the loss, with Wandy Peralta getting the save. So the Yankees tied that series up at 2 then, and sent it back to New York, where Nestor Cortes and Aaron Savali pitched against each other, and Nestor Cortes pitched extremely well. The Yankees got the win, 5-1, punching the Yankees ticket to the LCS. And in the National League Division Series, or the other American League Division Series, the Astros versus the Mariners. The Mariners had a 7-1 lead, blew that, lost 8-7, with Rafael Montero getting the win and Robbie Ray getting the loss. Yordan Alvarez walked off the Mariners with a home run. In Game 1, the starters were Logan Gilbert versus Astros ace Justin Verlander. In Game 2, the Astros went on to win 4-2, with Hector Neris getting the win and Luis Castillo getting the loss and Ryan Presley getting the save. So the starters for Game 2 were Luis Castillo versus Framber Valdez. And in Game 3, back in Seattle, the Astros won a wild one in 18 innings, 1-0, with Luis Garcia getting the win for the Astros and Penn Murphy getting the loss for the Seattle Mariners. And that punched the Mariners ticket to the ALCS again with a 3-0 series win. And the starters for that were Lance McCullers and for the Astros and George Kirby for the Mariners. And then in the National League Division Series between the Braves and the Phillies won Game 1 7-6, with Sir Anthony Dominguez getting the win and Max Fried getting the loss. And in that, Game 1 was Ranger Suarez for the Phillies versus Max Fried of the Braves. And in Game 2, the Braves won 3-0, with Kyle Wright for the Braves getting the win and Zach Wheeler getting the loss and Kenley Jansen getting the save. And Kyle Wright and Zach Wheeler were the starters for that game. Then the series moved back to Philly, where the Phillies won 9-1, with Aaron Nola getting the win and Spencer Strider getting the loss. Those were the starters for Game 3. And then in Game 4, the Phillies clinched the series with a 8-3 win, with Brad Hand getting the win, Charlie Morton getting the loss, and Phillies starter Noah Syndergaard was the starter for Game 4. The Phillies won that series 3-1. And in the other NLDS series between the Dodgers and the Padres won that series 3-1. And in Game 1, the Dodgers won 5-3, with Julio Urias getting the win for LA and Mike Clevenger getting the loss for San Diego, with Chris Martin getting the save for LA. So the starters for Game 1 were Mike Clevenger versus Julio Urias. Urias, I think his name is. Sorry if I mispronounced his name. Game 2 was the Padres winning 5-3, with Yu Darvish getting the win and Bruce Dark-Gratterall getting the loss, with Josh Hader getting the save. So in game one, the starters or game two, excuse me, for that, where the starters were for the Padres, Yu Darvish, and the starter for the Dodgers was Clayton Kershaw. And in game three, excuse me, going back to San Diego, Padres won 2-1 with Blake Snell getting the win, Tony Gonsolin getting the loss, Josh Hader getting the save. The starters for that game were Blake Snell and Tony Gonsolin. And then in game four, the Padres won and clinched the series 5-3 with a 5-3 win. And Tim Hill got the win. Yency Almonte got the loss. Josh Hader got the save. And the Padres won 3-1, clinching their shot to go to the NLCS. And the starters for that game were Tyler Anderson of the Dodgers and Joe Musgrove of the Padres. So, going on to the American League Championship Series with the Yankees and Astros. That was a brutal series for us Yankee fans. The Astros swept that series 4-0. In game one, the Astros won 4-2 behind a great pitching performance by Justin Verlander, who beat Clark Schmidt. And the save went to Ryan Presley. And the game one starters for that were Justin Verlander and Jameson Taillon. In game two, the Yankees lost 3-2 behind an outstanding pitching performance by Framber Valdez. And the losing pitcher was Luis Severino. Save goes to Ryan Presley. Those were the two starters for that game. And in game three, the Yankees were blanked 5-0 with Christian Javier getting the win and Garrett Cole getting the loss. Those were also the two starters for game three. And in game four, the Astros beat the Yankees 6-5 with Hector Neris getting the win, Jonathan Loáisiga getting the loss, and Ryan Presley getting the save. In that game, the starters were Lance McCullers Jr. and Nestor Cortez Jr. for the Yankees. The Astros won that series 4-0, punched their ticket to the World Series, and were awaiting their opponent between the the Padres and the Phillies. So in the NLCS, the Phillies ended up winning that series 4-1. And in game one, the Phillies won 2-0 behind Zach Wheeler, who started for them. And the losing pitcher was Yu Darvish, and the save went to Jose Alvarado. And in game two, the Padres won 8-5 with Blake Snell getting the win and Aaron Nola getting the loss, with Josh Hader getting the save. Blake Snell and Aaron Nola were the starters for that game as well. In game three, the Phillies won 4-2 with Ranger Suarez getting the win, Joe Musgrove getting the loss, and Sir Anthony Dominguez picking up the save. Both Ranger Suarez and Joe Musgrove, Joe Musgrove and Ranger Suarez were the starters for that game. In game four, the Phillies won 10-6 behind good pitching performance by Brad Hand in relief. So he got the win. Sean Manaea got the loss. And then in that game, the starters were Mike Clevenger for San Diego and Bailey Falter for Philadelphia. And then in game five, Jose Alvarado got the win, and Robert Suarez got the loss, while Ranger Suarez got the save. And a 4-3 Phillies win over the Padres to punch their ticket to the World Series to face the Astros. And in game five, the starters were Yu Darvish versus Zach Wheeler. So the Phillies won that 4-1, and we're now moving on to face the Astros. So in game one, the Phillies won 6-5 with Sir Anthony Dominguez getting the win, Luis Garcia getting the loss, David Robertson getting the save. And the starters for that were Aaron Nola versus Justin Verlander. And in game two, the Astros won 5-3 with Framber Valdez getting the win, Zach Wheeler getting the loss. Those were the two starters for that game. In game three, Ranger Suarez went on to pitch a great game, blanking the Astros 7-0, while the losing pitcher was Lance McCullers Jr. of Houston. And for game three, those were the starters. Also in game two, Zach Wheeler and Framber Valdez were the starters. In Game 4, the Astros won 5-0 behind Christian Javier, who got the win, and Aaron Nola, who got the loss. Also, those two were the starters for Game 4. In Game 5, the Astros won 3-2 behind a great pitching performance by their ace, Justin Verlander, and the losing pitcher was Noah Syndergaard, the starter for Philly in that game. Those two were the starters, and Ryan Presley got the save. And then tonight, the Astros clinched a World Series championship, their second in their team's history, their first being in 2017. And they won behind Framber Valdez 4-1. And Framber Valdez got the win. Zach Wheeler got the loss. Ryan Presley got the save. And the final out was made by Nick Castellanos, who flied out to the Astros right fielder. This was a very, very exciting playoffs. I will say that. It was a great series to watch if you watched it. Unfortunately, if you were rooting for Philadelphia, we didn't get the results, or you didn't get the results that you wanted. Unfortunately, the Astros win this series 4-2, clinching their second championship in their team's history. Guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think and what you guys think of the entire postseason. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Have a great night. Over and out.